Silver Bow Publishing is an independent, creative book publisher committed to publishing great literature in all genres. Candace James is at the helm of Silver Bow as the general manager. Silver Bow Publishing is located in Greater Vancouver, British Columbia, and typically publishes both fiction and poetry, around 20 to 30 books annually, by emerging and established international writers. Silver Bow books are available in print, retail bookstores, and libraries worldwide. If you'd like to purchase a print version of this book, please contact your local bookstore and ask them to order a copy through Ingram Distribution. You can also purchase the book directly from the publisher if you prefer at silverbowpublishing.com. The ebook version is available on Amazon. Rupendra Guha-Majumdar hails from the state of West Bengal. After his initial education, he moved from Calcutta to Delhi University for his postgraduate degree, immediately following which, in 1972, he began teaching English literature at the same institution, retiring formally in 2016. During his final years in MA, in 1971, he published his first book of poems, Blunderbuss, through the Writers' Workshop, Calcutta. 3 more books of poetry followed in the next 20 years. Meanwhile, engaged in research work, he visited Yale University twice as a Fulbright Fellow in 1981 and 1992, eventually publishing his dissertation as Central Man, The Paradox of Heroism in Modern American Drama through Peter Lang, Brussels in 2003. In 2014, he was appointed Fulbright Scholar in Residence at Suffolk University, Boston. Since then, post-COVID-19, 2 further books of poetry followed, Coda in 2022 and Canary Hill in 2024-5, both published from Silver Bow Publishing in Canada. I'd love to introduce this poet and the collection by sharing a few words from the foreword, written by Brij Raj Singh, former professor of English at the Delhi University and professor emeritus Hostos Community College of the City University of New York. So he writes that Rupendra Guha-Majumdar's love of the language, the sheer exuberance and joy with which he uses it, the unusual and unexpected connections he draws, the range of reference, the startling and vivid images of these poems, his depth of meaning will ensure many of them are read 50 years from now, perhaps by students in the same classrooms of Delhi University where he once taught. Welcome, Rupendra. We're thrilled to have you joining us today and excited to celebrate this launch. I'm going
Thank you
to
very much.
share my screen so that we can really take in the depth of literature being shared today.
Megan, shall I start?
Yes.
In the garden. So I shall begin with a small impressionistic poem regarding the duality of nature that views war and peace in the same landscape. This is a very old poem written 50 years back. Two ink blue butterflies, their proboscis curled, slumber on a sunflower, like moored yachts in a quiet harbor with gaudy sails unfurled. A great bumblebee goes humming by, like a zeppelin in the sky, encasing the night in each eye. The next one, the next poem is, these are some thoughts on the Bangladesh Liberation War. I have searched many times over as the candle flame flickered on the windowsill, fumbling with grimy fingers into the satchel, searching with ant-haste every corner, but I could clutch nothing except a brimming darkness and more dust which filled my broken nails. I have heard laughter in the storm as I stumbled homewards. It sounded so much like you that I almost believed it, till the trees shook and blocked my path with their broken branches. I have not forgotten your name. I have not forgotten the way the roof of my house tilted when they burnt it. I have not forgotten Baghas barking, silenced by their bullets, and the cows mooing. Believe me, I could call them into my power. I could tell them, look, this is not life. I could ask them, have you no shame, no fear of damnation? But I have lost my speech. Long since they bayoneted the old gardener, and the vultures have left his guts strewn amongst the flowers. Next poem, Faceless Buddha in Bamiyan. The destruction of the giant statue of Buddha in Bamiyan, Afghanistan in 2001 could be viewed from different angles. The destroyer could also be seen as the inadvertent redeemer. This Gandhara statue on the rocky outskirts of Bamiyan has no face to speak of in present tense. No eyes, nose, ears, lips that form the lineaments we can recognize from Mauryan art and meditation, all wiped clean with angry blows of a redoubtable hammer. Gone are the lowered eyelids, the downward glance, the loosened brow, the smile of foreknowledge, for the while possessing the only truth that matters, the truth of nothing as visage. This is what cosmic nothing looks like. A face that once was, redundant now. The man who did this, the man with the demented hammer, is nowhere around to marvel at his own meticulous handiwork. The censure of unwanted gods, incising the gamut of senses, sight, smell, hearing, speech. The outcome that Gautama surely wants when he pauses on the threshold of time and sees another dawn bleed softly into the valley. The hammerman perspires under the sun. His shoulders ache in labor as his arms swing back and forth in rapt exhaustion. Strike away the sandstone enraptured eyes, nose, ears, lips, chin, the repertoire of senses from the face of the earth. The man with the hammer, dispenser of all unwanted faces, unduly gazing from horizon to horizon, one life to another. He comes as a blessing, redeems the dispensable mask of the last savior. Next, Hungry Stones. It's an unconscious reference to a short story by Rabindranath Tagore that delves into a young man's haunting memories of a past life in which beauty and tragedy merged together. Hungry Stones. These are familiar ruins, said the young man. Hands in pockets, small eyes narrowed, hair tousled by the wind. Footsteps echo down the stone corridors, past fat crouching gargoyles and blanched Aphrodites standing demurely around the shattered fountain. Strange, said the young graduate, as the sky darkened and more footsteps echoed down the stone corridors, the remorseless shuffling gait of hunched phlegmatic priests, the measured tread of scheming ministers whispering behind buttressed pillars how long had their knives been rusting in their scabbards. The rain washes the bare sprawling floor of the great hall. Through the green broken glass of the casements, the rice fields can be seen for miles, clutching burnt out firebrands of trees. I have a vivid imagination, said he, and laughed, climbing the wide curving staircase towards the open, bejeweled arms of his smiling, exquisite princess. A song to a wayward goddess. My reading of a long poem by Garcia Lorca one summer day kindled his kind of Andalusian passion in my mind. So this poem is also dedicated to his memory. I met her then, the Queen of Seasons, in the forest beside the Mad River. Her eyes were dark, prehistoric swamps, her large hips bloody in the wake of thorns. I know the forests here and the streams and the burrows of the sly vixens, and each rock that warms the reptile's belly and the quicksands born of old curses. I called her by name, Maiden of the Red Leaves, and she came to me with the pride of rivers, her black hair swirling like quick, untamed eddies, her breasts unplucked cool lotus buds at dawn. Words grapple like urchins in the alleys of my voice. Words crumple like deer with sudden arrows in their throats. Words rose like the ashes of the temples that smoldered in the heart of the exiled king. Words became birds blinded by hail and crashed like stones through the branches of trees. Words became leaves, red, red leaves, ripe maiden of the red leaves. I know the forests here and the streams, and the paths that lead to the caves of the weary, and the great cliffs that soar above somnolent brows, and the heartbeats of the invisible in the mists of silence. And through the dim forest came the Mad River. The waves were wild stallions rushing down the mountains, hooves of bronze, manes of foam. The waves were wounded boars plunging at the hunter, curved tusks of silver, blue skins of ice. The waves were anacondas with tails on fire, tongues of whirlpools, eyes of lost shadows. Let me wipe the blood from your hips, maiden of the red leaves. Come, we shall bathe in the foam of the Mad River. The thorns of this forest are long and painful, but you did not know it, being the Queen of Seasons. Marriage and prehistory. One thinks about the archaeology of marriage, which may signify journeys that always return where they started from in endless cycles of evolution. Nascent anthropologist that she is, primogeniture bound, Munia delves into artifacts of time, closely wraps in blue cellophane a femur or ulna or petals of skull bone, bearing coded sutures that could Darwin-like dam, lemur, marmoset, or man in seconds. The tools of her trade are not metal made with handles of honed antlers of antelope, but are potsherds and rocks of the intumescent earth, useful pumice chisels once, rice bowls, duck-shaped ladles, now freckled with silver lichen. In this brimstone May, when we novices of excavations seek official marriage witnesses who will absolve our union in retrospect, sign and stamp on court paper and form, then assemble our fern-like fossil bones over millennia and say, spectacles slipping down, pachyderm noses, this is no Lepidoptera or coelacanth pair, but hominoid, upstanding man and wife who lived happily ever before, buried under the sandbanks of yonder full moon river. Exiles surely, wanderers through pine forests with lapsed passports, lapsed countenances, glinting with the myriad stars of silver lichen. Elegy to a Dove. A half-eaten corpse of a dove in one's attic is a horrific sight, and the known feline perpetrator always invisible with impunity. Elegy to a dove. I have seen at break of dawn torn feathers on the floors of houses, bereft of body or beak, poised on rafters was a much contended, that in the midnight past, poised on rafters was a much contended bird. I did see at break of dawn torn feathers on the floors of houses, bereft of body or beak or eye. By mercy of quick fang and claw of spotted lynx, dispensed of soul and song. I may see as yet waves before the even tide rebound against the cliff's white brow, with the roar of grace to scatter afar her ashes now on borrowed wings. When my mother's health deteriorated with old age, each trip home to meet her 1,000 miles away would foster a deep anxiety that it was the last. Train to motherland. Mother's awful state recalls me to her side. I do the 1,000-odd eastbound miles in a rounded day, riding pell-mell express Purva, wheels clashing through the May night's brimming tunnel, hoping she's still smiling there above the black loam of our town's crust, sitting upright on her ruffled bed as I enter with furrowed brow, a beating heart, some silent intruder expecting the worst. Hoping she's still there to receive me warmly as I turn the courtyard corner by the well, to clasp me to her chest, her youngest, dearest son, to hear the 1,000 thudding echoes of those wheels finally merging into one. Words are. Words, like the tools of our trade, which are words, possess powers of their own beyond our very limited agencies of articulation. Words are. Words are heavy boots on racks, chunks of hide, to be dusted, polished laces hanging on either side like the thin mustaches of Mandarin monks. Words are launched, bucking broncos in rodeo rings, bent on dislodging cocksure cowboys off their backs with a flick of their spine, and successful too. Words truly are flitting fireflies at dusk, replenishing the slinking luminescence of the sun in the unblinking eye of the evening star. Pompey Diary. In 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius suddenly erupted, spewing lava and ash that silenced the city of Pompeii forever. Here is the Corinthian problem of both senator and slave being in the same boat, same time, in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius. Oh, nature's unforeseen blunder. Is their common fate of drowning together at their prime in a sea of ashes and bubbling lava one midsummer day in the ancient sorrow of an age of wonder? Baul, or street singer in Bengali, the music that emerges from the core of the stricken heart of the itinerant exile and bearer of truth and beauty. That is the baul, or the street singer. How could the world's strange undoings be laid at your door, old raconteur and guest? You come but for a day, your songs uncurl through the mist, then catch like charred locusts in your throat. What summer wind breaks the night's foreground with such furious lashing? What crackling distances glow through your monosyllables of fire? It is said that the occasional sickness of nature is inversely proportional to its potential of self-rejuvenation. So this is a poem on dolphins during the COVID lockdown. We heard shimmering gray dolphins were sighted on the river Ganga at Hooghly. The water being easier to breathe in and out now during Corona lockdown. They have risen from skewed graves to post unsolicited messages of their own. Let them be. Next are these ultramarine mosaic dolphins leaping over the wall in Pompeii, which got pressed and veiled in time, an unfolding curtain of volcanic ash descending suddenly upon a mob of bewildered faces. They carry messages too in brick, dust, and lime. Let them be. Black Drummer Boy on Harvard Square. This is the poem about an African American lad at Harvard Square who plays nonchalantly on assorted drums, right? Evokes a music that throbs across a great divide. And this is the lady taking a photograph of him, and that's Harvard. So Black Drummer Boy on Harvard Square. Midday in November. It's cold upon the Rialto of Harvard Square. A cowled black drummer boy is striking out a staccato rhythm of pain, using an assorted semicircular repertoire of steel, plates, bowls, inverted buckets on the bare concrete stage of the pavement he marginally occupies. He uses his bare hands only for sculpting tunes of muted footfalls of thunder into waves of vibrant butterflies seeking nectar. Nameless multitudes from some purgatory pass him by, legs pulsating with the beats in choreography. Images of Bernstein, West Side Story, perhaps flash through primordial eyes. One young photographer halts, turns to look, bends down fast on one knee, left eye shut to aim at her Nikon, to shoot the image of the hooded black figure for all to see, no doubt. But shucks, he's invisible, as all black brothers are through the wide-angle lens that filters him out. I stand on one side of the Harvard Co-op, do my bit of peering at this scene scribbled between pavement and thin air. Black profile and limb taking shape as legs in choreography march up and down. I see the black boy's conical parka hood, an extended shadow of the Doric triangle above the facsimile pillars of Harvard Business School, high beyond him. Peaks poised over a crackling fault line, a great divide across land and sky, beyond a perennial confluence of nameless feet. Day of Judgment. In downtown Delhi, I once faced a grim bodily crisis in public in the presence of my 2 adolescent sons. Day of Judgment. Forenoon of September 9, a capitulation unforeseen, my 2 boys, touching 8 and 13, a spouting of occult blood, they may well remember. Can you hear me? Hello?
It was
Hello?
a little cut out. If you want, maybe you could just start that one at the beginning. Hopefully your internet was just having a moment.
Can you hear me? But can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
All right, I'll start again.
Sounds good.
Forenoon of September 9. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Megan? No. Okay. Forenoon of September 9, a capitulation unforeseen. My 2 boys, touching 8 and 13, witness a fall, a spouting of occult blood, they may well remember. Carried on a stretcher, I join the concourse of debility and pain. My eyes are open wide. I see the ceilings of meandering corridors ripple and stretch over my head towards an estuary of intensive care. Glass panels gleam on every side. Bottled saline suckles my veins at needle point. as they meekly shudder and smart, turn sore, a bluish-green labyrinth merging into the distant promontory of my knuckles and the outpost of my heart. Oesophagus confesses erosions, duodenum too, staring into the tiny camera eye that delves into the lunar lesion landscape of my guts, searching on and on for more than a bacterial cause to pronounce I ought to live or die, or briefly in between, merely pause. Megan, am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Kathakali dancer. Kathakali dancer. We see when language fails to visualize cosmic creation, the rhythm and flow of a classical Indian dance may uniquely succeed in that instance. In one palm is about a classical Indian dancing and enacting the creation of the world. In one palm upwards, you cup the world like a tiny wet bird. Watch it and reconsider its blue-green plumage, shimmer from every angle. In the other, smiling, you place the sky, curving it deftly with your arched fingers, rounding the far edges, so that all the known winds return where they started from. To help a speckled blue-green bird, wings dried and ready, glide tirelessly back to where it started from. Across the trackless midnight oceans of your eyes, beyond the mediating echoes of your dancing feet. The next poem is slightly longer. And here I have conflated the imagery of two calamities in history: the Hiroshima bombing on August 6th, 1945, when clocks froze at 8:15 a.m., and in India, the Union Carbide gas tragedy in Bhopal in 1984, when again life was petrified into stone. And visible in a photo by Pablo Bartholomew, a mother bearing her dead, open-eyed infant son in the soil, with which the poem concludes. It's now an old clock, if clocks can be old. Past its prime, paint peeling off, retarded green, speckled with gray, octagonal head on a straight, thick neck, no shoulders or torso, like a bust commissioned by a puissant connoisseur who knows his art, a battered face meditating beyond glass. Perchance, capriciously it was cut out of a cliff face, with rough, quick strokes of a spike, gripped with icy knuckles through one inclement night, when all the world waited to know how abysmal time buckles. Rough-hewn, it hung there, ticking loudly, suspended in the iridescent air for the timely commerce of meticulous angels who flew busily by, like bees who must, of course, never question why. And suddenly, his thin hands were strangely twisted and charred and terse, like a leper's, who has no fingers to clutch with, as he stumbles down a flaming staircase, clutching nothing with nothing. Rock face of Hiroshima, rock face of Nagasaki, one and the same. Kabuki mask with singed eyelashes, kabuki mask grimacing, with blood-filled mouth above a garland of flushed hibiscus. Kabuki mask meditating in the arched silence of the praying mantis. White shredded waves bunched against the horizon, white shredded clouds bunched against the sky. Where are the white birds that circled these islands, dipping with the wind as they sang for their supper? The sea, like a lone, glistening fisherman, poised on a rock, casts its net of ubiquitous mist. It sinks consummately, low through the ripples and slopes of waves, the bubbles of treetops, bamboo, willow, rosewood, pomegranate, queen of the forest, settles over earthbound sleeping birds carved from rock, over wide-eyed children carved from the rock of a cliff face. So I'd like to break the mood a little, the somber mood, with a few nonsense rhymes or limericks, if you want to call them, 4 or 5 of them, uh, in a light vein. Harry Potter Diary. There was this whiz kid by the name of Potter who would often ride home back on an otter. Perchance he slipped into the fast lane one day. The traffic police were quite perplexed, but had not a thing to say. After all, he was a mighty bestseller and not a stupid rotter. Immigration steps. Once a rare ass from the great run of Kutch met a migratory pink flamingo who was just a little out of touch with the basic steps of the dance lambada, no, not flamenco, that just by chance happened to be the visa qualifier at the local embassy of the Dutch. Royal taste. The French poodle of Prince Salman Ali Jung had a not penchant for the local concoction bhang. When asked about her lowly taste in wines, they said it was an indulgence only on those days she played frisbee with the prince, with the frisbees all made of dung. Captain Hook, an adventurer by the name of Conway, lived in a bunker beside a civilian runway. With a long bamboo pole and a hook, he quit playing by the book, latching on to planes to Mongolia and back the Hanway. Italian connection. We recall the medieval poet Alighieri Dante, who lived in Florence, took nothing for granted. With venerable Virgil as mentor and guide, really none could take him for an extended ride, like passing off a hippopotamus for a toothless elefante. Okay. Next poem, Gladiator. Again, the aligning of 2 different levels of society into one frame. Tongue in cheek, they said, when in Rome be as the Romans are. In the Colosseum, the roar of plebeians rises to a crescendo as one voice of unmuted lust. I live to kill, kill to live. I have no desire to serve the mangy appetites of lions, while Nero smiles and strums his last sequestered syllables of blood and fire. Searching for an ebook in the spring. Girish Karnad's play Tughlaq was the text prescribed as an ebook in a course on world drama in Boston University. In a Boston University, the search for it was quite futile, but quite generative as well. Searching for an ebook in the spring. I open projectgutenberg.com, place the name of one Girish Karnad in the precarious window above left of page, and wait for a available dope for plays online, namely Tughlaq. For my English class in the spring term, come January, Anno Domini 20 and 15, we are counting the days. Girish, did you mean girlfish? Asks Venerable Guten, curious, bemused, garish, or gish, or Grendel, Irish? He queries, a Tiresias groping downstairs. How could I reply? How girlfish, girl one end, fish tail on the other, as Prufrock surmised to dare about the sweet mermaid singing each to each, while his bald patch shone like the August moon in the middle of his sand-blown hair. Next, Karma, Karna, Canard, perhaps Conrad, with a K, like Cyclops, the apple of Poseidon's eye, praying for recompense. What would you prefer? His head upon a dish? Is it a heart of darkness you prefer? Are you now King Minos, musing over a June solstice, with your pet minotaur drooling for a midday snack in your bone-laced labyrinth? Take your pick, girlfish, bullman, centaur, golden-fleeced goat boy with flute on Arcadian meadow, or even the siren girl birds in our deep blue Aegean, who can sing every homebound ship into black splinters on the rocks with their lullabies of eternal sleep. Do you have that in your memory? I ask Guten the Borg. All that took place in happenstance in the not so familiar Deccan turf. Are you alive to the deed, to the task? And can I have the substance of my ebook back and my girlfish too? The silence is as loud as the crashing surf. Birds were dinosaurs once, with footprints on the run, emblazoned in rock, a stream of printed arrowheads seeking a heart. And here's a strange, landlocked bird form, a bespectacled seer found on Galapagos, named it Ebok after its call, as it walked on water past grimacing eddies, on the run, point of dim extinction, nay, extinct, a fate of feathers undone, mutely calling unto the last, Ebok, Ebok. Grand Canyon, Notes and Queries. Once more, there is a poem that shows nature's dualism, serenity and brutal force, all strange to behold in one frame. On the primeval canyon, the zany wind sculptor of these cliffs twists and turns the lone pine wraith of a tree, deeply scratched all over into knots of passion. It pauses and you in white cotton shirt over khaki cargoes and smile, hair streaming, walk into the picture frame. It holds its breath as you look into its bloodshot eyes, sway drunkenly high above yon Colorado River, and ask, hey, besides carving millennial rocks with teeth and claw and quaintly scaffolding a buzzard sky, what else can you do? Second baby at 1.5. One can only marvel at the inborn resourcefulness and imagination of small infants. He likes the feel of fountain pens in his new world fingers. His eyes reconnoiter the horizon of pages as his bits of doodling stumble and slide over each other like waves over shiny boulders in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. His monologues are often inconclusive in thematic content, but what of that? His kind of words possess the projected elan of the frontier man, unmindful of the final call of worlds closing in on themselves. Ibex ram cares not for heights. The ibex ram of the Caucasus Mountains possess unearthly qualities that raises him to great heights without any fear of self-destruction. He sits back on the mountain's crest on a less than 12-inch ledge of blue-gray basalt 1,000 feet above the valley, as wild, prickly grass matching the bowed scimitars of his horns curves against the chest and tucked quartet of cloved hooves. The wind faces him straight on, as his nostrils quiver with the smell of rain that clouds waft from below him. Some clouds are above too, like white cosmic buds of chrysanthemums, lingering to blossom before spring. As he, sitting oblivious on his exclusive ledge of 12 or so inches up high, chews the cud, black eyes basking in your last surprise. I will conclude with two small poems, which do not need introductions. Epitaph to Father. These are my eyes that saw you living. These are my eyes that neither cried nor will. These are my hands that set you aflame. These are my hands that are smoldering still. The last one, Pursuit. Again, the two masks of nature. Pursuit. The wind, a sly sudden shark. The leaves, small scattering fish. Thank you.